Hi. Today, we're going to talk about the positive power of negative thinking. And it's not about negativity, it's actually a pragmatic or a realistic outlook of what your skill sets are right now and what you can and need to do to be better prepared for, well, let's just say, when events and circumstances don't go your way or go as planned. With me today is Troy. Troy, how you doing today?
I'm doing well, Stephen. How are you?
Pretty good. Let's just say the pipes are open again and things are flowing.
Well, it sounds like you had some adversity going on over there.
Yeah, we had some blockage underground. So, but my thoughts, they actually went pretty negative. Perfect timing for that. But luckily, I knew how to turn them around and make them positive by asking for help because my skill sets only go about 35 feet underground, and the plumbers went much further to get to the root of the problem.
All right. So,
So, yeah,
go ahead.
so here I got a question for you. What actions can we take to not make the wrong mistake when negative thoughts seep, excuse the plumbing puns, into our lives when we encounter adversity and roadblocks on our way to reaching success?
Well, so the first thing, obviously, is to stop chasing what everybody else is doing. Um, doing what everybody else is doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting a different result. That's the very definition of insanity, right? So
Yep.
what you want to do, as we do in my Facebook group, is you want to cultivate a maverick mindset. Because if you do what everybody else does, you're going to end up with mediocre, middle of the road, uninspiring, unsatisfactory results.
Thank
So if you're
you.
posting on a job board, if you're looking to find a new position and you're posting on job boards and just trolling LinkedIn postings, looking for the perfect opportunity, or waiting for an email to come back from a hiring manager that you've reached out to, or blasting your resume out on all these list servers, hoping that you get a good response. That's what everybody else is doing. And
Yep.
your chances of success there are small to minute.
Yep. One out of 1,000, if you're lucky.
Right. So, so sometimes, right, the Women's World Cup is going on right now, right? And so
Right.
sometimes a 0-0 result is enough to get you onto the next game, onto the next stage.
Hmm.
But once you've reached the knockout round, the only thing that's going to get you where you want to go is actual victory.
Yeah, that makes me think of championship rounds for almost any sport, that to get there, you have to face and overcome each roadblock, which is one game at a time. And it's the only way you're going to reach your success. It's like stepping stones. It's one thing, one thing, one thing. If you think that each game is a sure win, this is a big problem. Not a negative thought, it's a positive thought. But if you think that each game is a sure win, you're going to be opening for a rude awakening. Ask any baseball team, any basketball team, any football team. And it really can be a problem. And that
Right.
does bring us to our first point of how negative thoughts can be a positive. Because
Right.
when you win that game, that says, oh, hey, we did what we had to do. The thing is, though, we got to keep a pragmatic view. So don't make the wrong mistake by thinking that roadblocks are just going to disappear. They're going to be there, and you have to find a way to get through it. And again, this is a positive thing. There's a negative. What's the positive to get around it? And this is what we would call a pragmatic view. Now, Troy, I know you've got a very interesting story for us on this one.
Right. So, as a project manager, one of the jobs that I had, as I was changing jobs frequently within the government, was as a project manager. And we had a system that was developed by MITRE, which was a government, contractor, essentially. It was called RiskNav, short for risk navigation.
Mm.
And basically, there was a lot of complicated math and engineering and stuff behind it, but very simply, right? Because you wanted to provide information in a simple format that senior management can easily digest it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Break it down, make it simple, give it to them like you're talking to a kindergartner, right? So it's basically a two-dimensional graph. And on one axis, you plot the likelihood of a circumstance or an obstacle occurring to your project.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other axis, you plot what would be the consequence of that event or obstacle occurring. And if you had a high likelihood and a high negative consequence to that event, that necessitated that you had to have a strategy to counter that obstacle in order for your project to get approval to continue. So you can use this same kind of very simple logic in your own life to score the things that might happen in your life. And if something is highly likely and highly detrimental to your success, make a plan for it.
Right. And that's
As if it's actually going to, as if it's actually already occurred.
Right.
Pretend that it's already occurred and it's like, okay, now what am I going to do about it? Right.
Yeah. And if you're prepared with plan A and plan A doesn't work, you move on to plan B. And if plan B doesn't work, maybe you have plan C, D. Well, in reality, we usually have one or two plans. Most people don't do 20, 30, 40 plans. I mean, probably at the highest level of military strategists, they probably do. But that brings us
full of them.
Yeah, book full of them. But shh, don't give away any classified secrets. So the other thing is, it does bring us up to the next point. You got to know people. And you don't want to make the wrong mistake by not bringing in the right people if your plan doesn't succeed. Last week, I knew my pipe was clogged. My plan, get up my tool and jam it on down there. Well, it kind of worked for a few days till Sunday night when it stopped working again. So I brought in the right people because my skill was not enough, nor my tool enough. And that does mean that if you are having issues, you've got to find a way to do it. So you don't know enough of the right people. And it's about your network. And you do need to have a network. And just think about your network. That one person that you do not yet know can make a difference in your life.
Absolutely.
Difference. So what else do you have on this one, Troy? Because I know Troy's got just books of this stuff.
Right. So even when you're talking about a very personal project, such as finding a job for yourself, you think that that might not involve anybody else, but that's kind of limited thinking, right? Mm-hmm. You know, it involves your family member, your immediate family members, of course. It involves anybody that you might want to help going forward. It impacts the people that you want to impact with the new skills that you've learned and your ability to maybe pass along some knowledge to other people. And then if you're making more money, maybe it allows you to move to a different community and engage in a different community and maybe donate money to the church or your favorite charity more than you currently are, right? So even just thinking that going to find a job for yourself only impacts yourself is not the right mindset to have about that particular challenge. So what you would want to do is involve some other people who can give some additional perspective to what it is that you're trying to do.
Yep.
Right? Because more input from more people means more and better solutions that would come across your eyes and your ears and gives you more information. So you can make a better evaluation and really clarify that plan that you want to take in order to achieve the result that you want to achieve in your personal or professional life.
Right. Now, the negative thinking for me on this is, what if there's too many people? You know, the too many cooks spoil the soup type of analogy.
Exactly. And of course, the part of the problem is you've got to still take control over clearly defining what that problem is, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, I just want a job. And you go and it's like, can you help me get a job? You might end up with a job at McDonald's. That's not what you wanted, right? You've got to be clear about what it is that you're trying. Well, maybe at one time, but maybe that's not what you want to do right now. So in order to get the right perspective and the right input, right, from the right people, not have too many cooks spoiling the soup, right? Clarity is required. Be clear on those goals. And we've talked about this previously. Right. Yep. What is the outcome that you're trying to achieve, and how can you explain that clearly to other people so that they can help you properly?
Yep. Yeah, that's a big thing. And some people, they can actually, again, negative thinking, because this is about preparation and planning.
Right.
Is I teach group work, and one of the problems with group work is people hate it. They just despise it. I don't know why. Working with other people is so rewarding and so fulfilling and so fun. And no, it's not actually.
Yeah. There's always one person. Sometimes there's always one person that just kind of ruins the whole thing, right?
Yeah, they're there and they're going to knock you on your backside sometimes, which brings us to our next point. Don't make the wrong mistake thinking you will not have setbacks, even if you're in charge. Even if you're the best follower, things happen. It's just the way things work. You will get knocked on your backside. And one of the big things is will you get back up? It's not can you, but will you? Because some people that are really hurt get back up. They find a way to get back up, or they ask for help within their network to get back up. But sometimes it doesn't. And this brings us to, how do you handle adversity? Because getting knocked on your backside is a form of adversity. So what do you got for us on that one?
Yeah. So there's I think it was General Patton who once said, no plan survives contact with the enemy. Right. So that again goes back to, you got to have plan B, plan C. Yeah. But then I think Mike Tyson also coined the phrase of, everyone has a plan until they get hit.
Been there. Yeah. A couple of these medals, where are they? A couple of those medals involved getting hit and doing the hitting. So I know about that. I never got knocked down in competition, though. I did not get
well, that's down. Yes.
I had a more stable foundation, because it's always about foundation.
And Mike Tyson never got knocked down until he did. And then, he had to develop a new plan for how he's going to fight from that point on.
My plan was retire before that happens. I guess I won. Gold medal of thinking ahead. Yeah.
But when you're training, right, especially if you're doing any kind of strength training, right, this is more for the not as seasoned people in the audience, because maybe we don't want to stress and work ourselves to actual failure. Yeah. But when you are like building muscle, right, you lift the weights until you can't lift it anymore, right, until you actually feel the burn and the soreness, right, because that tells you, all right, I have stressed my muscles enough so that they have actually torn a little bit, micro tears, which will heal and get stronger, right? So
except in my case today, I didn't do that. So
yeah, so you have to, right. So you have to lean into the adversity, because that is how you build strength, and that is how you build resilience.
Right. Very, very important part on that. And that's a reality check too, of being human. I mean, this is almost everybody on this planet faces adversity from the moment we're born, the moment we pop out, that first breath. That is, it's a huge, because if you don't take it, that's kind of game over, right? Early.
Right.
It's no fun. But don't make the wrong mistake thinking that reality is going to give you a break. It's just not going to happen. And then, as I was saying even before, we need to learn to ask, find, or beg for assistance in any way, shape, or form. I needed a plumber. I knew I needed a plumber. I got the phone number off the little tag on the furnace, because they were the ones that put it in. And I said, hey, I got a problem. I'm pretty sure, I knew what the problem was, but again, didn't have the tools. I needed assistance. And then even when they're here, I'm watching them do it. I help them, because they said, hey, can you turn on the water? I was like, sure. Flush the toilet. Okay. So it works both ways. And it's a pretty serious reality check.
Right. So we addressed this already a little bit, in terms of getting that input from that one person or that other person who may be peripherally involved in your particular aspirations or goals, right? It affects them in some way, so you want to involve them. But also, if you're making a plan for your own career, and you are focusing predominantly on your own thoughts, your own goals, your own assessment of what you need to do, it's a distorted view of the situation, because it's based upon your perceptions, your blind spots, or lack, or not considering those blind spots as part of your plan, your biases. And your best way to challenge those is to get outside of your own head and ask somebody else, hey, am I seeing this correctly? What am I missing? Right?
Yeah, this makes a lot of sense. A lot of times when we're trying to solve problems, we're too close to it. Right. And sometimes we back up. You walk away from something for 5, 10, 15 minutes, 20 minutes a day. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, poof, there's the answer in my head. I understand what I now have to do.
Right. You can't see the forest for the trees.
Yeah.
Because you're just right up next to the tree trunk.
And somebody else comes in and says, dude, what are you doing?
Right.
Oh, I was doing this. That's not how you do it. Do it this way. Well, maybe you didn't Google it or didn't check it on YouTube enough, but even then, it's too close to the problem. And
right.
That leads to frustration, and that sets us back in our goals, and it just basically keeps that obstacle there, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
And that does bring us to our next point, which is, don't make the wrong mistake of pushing an obstacle. It just holds it up. Now, this one needs some clarification. When I think of obstacles, my first thing is, do I go through it Do I go over it? Do I go around it? Do I go under it? There's not
Right.
too many other, or do you run away from it? And some people do run away from it. I hadn't thought of that
Right.
one, but see, I'm too pigheaded to think. I just go through it or around it or under it or over it. But
Yeah, I
sometimes,
personally have made this mistake multiple times in my career where I was so fixated on the obstacle. How do I deal with this obstacle? How do I deal with this obstacle? I put all of my energy into the obstacle. I was actually holding the obstacle in place because I was so fixated on the obstacle and not on the result that I wanted to get. And
yeah.
once I let go, once I stopped fixating on the obstacle and gave it some space and some perspective, sometimes the obstacle just falls down on its own accord and its own gravity.
Mm-hmm.
It's it's just one of those things, right? So make sure you focus on what you're going to do once you overcome that obstacle.
Yep. Yeah,
Right?
Sue knows about that from Homekeeping Channel. She probably faces some. Actually, I have some obstacles, Sue, that I need to talk to you about later about cleaning the floor from the stuff that came up. Or I'm thinking about it. So thanks for stopping by, Sue. So yeah, and this happens, and we don't always intend it. And you got to look in the mirror sometimes and do a little self-reflection and
Mhm.
go, is this a habit? Do I do this every single time, or is it just occasionally, or is it in certain circumstances? And again, our two favorite words are it depends.
Depends.
So it depends. And it depends can actually help with other obstacles, but let's not
Right.
go there with that one.
And so one of the things that I've learned in making this wrong mistake several times in my career is like I said, think about what you want to achieve. Pretend that you've already overcome the obstacle, just like you pretend that the negative thing has already happened in your life and you have to
Yep.
come up with a plan to deal with it now that it has happened, right? Pretend that you've already overcome the obstacle. What would you be able to do as a result?
Yeah, that's a pretty good
And
thing.
that might lead you to a different path. It's like, well, maybe I don't even need to go this way. Maybe there's an alternative route I can take that will allow me to do what I need to do next without going through this obstacle at all.
Yeah, and part of it I think has to do with the SMART goals. I mean, we
Right.
talk about SMART goals: specific, manageable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. If every part of that is done and you do it to, let's just say, perfection, even though perfection is supposedly not possible, but let's just say it is perfect, and an obstacle pops up that is out of your control.
Mm-hmm.
How does
Many
that?
of them are.
Yeah, a lot of them are. Yeah, the plumbing thing, it's out of my control. I lost
Right.
7 hours between 2 or 3 days dealing with it. So, including the extra hour and a half I have of cleaning up now, but there's,
The gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, the specific goal was get the water flowing again. So,
Right.
and add on, was it manageable? Yeah, call the plumber. He did it. Was it achievable? Crossing my fingers, hoping it was, within the 100 feet of his tool. It was there. Was it relevant? Yeah, because if the stuff doesn't flow, it backs up, and that's bad. Time bound? Yes, it needed to be done as soon as possible. So that was there. Luckily, we got it. And he actually offered to stay an extra hour and keep going further, bigger, deeper with a bigger drill bit. And I was thinking, oh, how much is that going to cost me? No, let's skip that. Just be back in 2 years. That's my next goal. So that's
Right.
the next obstacle. So it's not pushing it off. It's not
The
procrastinating.
trees will keep growing. The roots will keep expanding.
Yeah, unless we have micro downbursts, and then maybe the tree won't grow. But
Right.
Send it out. So this brings us to some other things that we've talked about too in the past, and this is having a winner's mindset. I believe that I can overcome this obstacle, but don't make the wrong mistake by not developing a winner's mindset. Now, a quick review of what that is. We have a video that I'll link that at the end of the show today. But when we talk about winner's mindset, we're talking about the 4 C's, and that's commitment, courage, capability, and confidence. So let's do a real quick review. What is commitment?
So commitment is that you want to do it. You make a plan to do something, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the commitment. And you want you talked about SMART goals. You also want goals that are stretching you to grow, right? Or getting you out of your comfort zone and getting you to do something that maybe you don't really feel like doing, but you want to do it. You need to do it. You want the outcome that's going to result as a result of you doing this process, right? So,
it creates courage to do it too, because as you become more committed to the plan and the action plan, it does create some courage. So it
Right.
does boost up that.
Once the desire overcomes the fear, right, that will give you the courage that you need to move forward and pursue your goals.
And you could still be afraid of it. I mean, I wasn't afraid to get my tool down in there. What I was afraid of is getting the stuff in my mouth, because then that might make me sick. So
Right.
I had the courage and I knew better than to do that. So,
Right.
but the courage is,
that's when you make that, the commitment is you make a decision.
Yep.
And then courage is about the will. You're not going to let something stand in your way.
Yeah,
you will find a way to get it done.
Yeah, no matter what, you're going to do it.
Yep.
And that also then brings us to the capability.
Right. Now you've done it, right? You made the commitment, you had the courage to face down your obstacles, and you achieve success. So now you've developed this, you've either augmented a capability you already had, or you developed a new capability in the process of pursuing that goal.
Yep. And that brings us back to competence, because competence is having the skill through experience to complete something.
Right.
Very important stuff.
Yes.
And then it's also about, I can do it again, because once you've done it and you have the experience and it went right, now negative thinking is, well, it didn't go right last time. Ask for help, right? Go back through the whole system and check that stuff out.
Right. And then it's something that you want to continue to cycle through, right? So the confidence allows you to make a greater commitment, which gives you more courage, which gives you more capability, which gives you more confidence, and it just keeps building upon itself.
Right. But beware, because complacency can pop up.
Right.
Because overconfidence can lead to complacency. So we need to be really, really, really careful on that. So
or falling into a trap, right? Because it's like you get overconfident and then you hit that unseen obstacle.
Right.
So that's where you need to have the negative thinking to make sure it's like, all right, things are going a little bit too smoothly. What's about to maybe knock me on my backside right now?
Mm-hmm. So let's go do a quick review on this. So the positive power of negative thinking is actually a positive. It's a very strong thing, and it's not a negative thing. If somebody says, you're negative thinking, yeah, but I'm getting ready for preparation and planning to succeed. So in other words, you're pre-thinking. If it can go wrong, it will go wrong. And that's Murphy's Law. I used to live my life that way. When I had a printing company, I didn't understand what that really meant until things started going awry with the printing press. Pieces of paper would shoot up into the ink rollers, and you'd have to spend an hour stripping the whole machine apart and cleaning out the lint and getting it all back there. So how do we prepare for that? We reduced static. We kept a closer eye on it. We maybe ran the press a little faster. Sometimes that helped, or a little slower. We just prepped it, and we were always ready with our hand on the button to disengage so it wouldn't do it. The thing is, don't make the wrong mistakes. There are so many situations where we do make the wrong mistakes. Did you learn from it? If you just lay down on the floor and kick and scream and throw a tantrum, you're probably not learning anything except that you bleed when you hit things hard. So be careful of that. Don't do that. Right. The other thing is, stop chasing what everyone else is doing. You don't have to do it original, but you need to do it your way. And sometimes you do have to copy other people. It definitely can help out to do that. So that's something to watch.
Yep. All models are flawed. Some models are useful.
Oh, I like that. That's a good one. Say that one again. Everybody can write this down. Ready? Here it is.
Yep. All models are flawed, but some models are useful.
Interesting. And we're talking about models.
I think it was
planning and preparing.
Yeah, I think it was Deming that said that one. The guy that's like the guy that developed the whole Japanese business philosophy.
Ooh, that goes pretty deep.
Yeah.
That's a roadblock that we're not going to face right now.
No.
Because of time. All right. So expect roadblocks. And roadblocks, think of them as a pragmatic view. Again, it's not necessarily optimistic, but it's realistic. So that's something else you got to really watch for.
You have to equally weigh the positive and negative of every situation, right?
If you can. Sometimes you can't. And it's just common sense at that point. And again, if common sense isn't working for you or you're frustrated, call for help.
Yep.
Again, it's that one person that can make the difference in which way your life goes. If you think about that, think back to any time in your life. Was there one person that said one thing, that did one thing, that offered you a piece of advice, that did something silent, that they did something behind the scenes that you knew about, that actually pulled you forward, or pulled you up, or pushed you forward, depending on which way, if you're a push me, pull me. So again, think about building that network of the right people.
Singular people, singular moments, moments, is when, inspiration strikes or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's when the magic happens.
And when things strike you down and you end up on your backside, how are you going to handle it? Are you going to lay there or are you going to get back up? And if it hurts to get up, again, call for help. It's okay to do that. I've seen people go down with, I went down with a twisted ankle once in the military and I got back up because the drill was yelling at me, but I couldn't go much further. So my buddies helped me up and it was a pretty good thing. I didn't even have to ask for help. They just kind of did it. The other thing is get a reality check and check yourself. This is not a negative again, but it's a negative thought. Well, what happens if? Go with the thought. What happens if?
Right.
Yeah, what happens if your car stops working? Well, there's a couple things. If you have an electric car because you didn't plug it in, if you have a gas car, you didn't fill it up. Pretty simple thing. Or it could be one of a million other things, but at least you're prepared for the simple things. The least problematic thing is to fill it up, gas it up, charge it up.
And the reality check also is the thing that will keep you from being complacent, right? Because it's like,
absolutely.
hey,
and if your car does stop running, you push the obstacle. I did not plan that, by the way. I did not plan that. That was totally unplanned. But yeah, you will have to push an obstacle and you will have to hold it up, especially if you're pushing it up a hill. So
yes.
If you live in the flats, it's okay. And then remember your 4 C's. Now, speaking of the 4 C's, that was a video we did called Do You Have a Winner's Mindset? And Troy, if you'll give us the left-hand finger point, please.
I got to point that way.
That one, yeah. Hey, see, you had to think about that. So point more up.
I know. I had to draw a circle in reverse, right?
Yeah,
so now I have to.
Yeah. So watch that video. That is the winner's mindset video, and you'll learn more about commitment, courage, capability, and confidence. Thank you for joining us today. You have a great night, and we'll see you online soon. Take care.